Hello, everyone. Here with my good content and super excited to have Gary Martin coming in with an incredible cross-country season, hot off an ACC Championship and a 13th place All-American status at the NCAA Championship. So welcome, Gary Martin with the University of Virginia. So let's walk through this. I mean, your cross-country season, the way it finished, would love to hear more about the whole season. I watched it online and you ran so strong. You made that move coming up one of the hills where you kind of passed the guys and kind of went from there.
Yeah, I think going into cross country, I felt pretty good about where I was at because I had a really good track season and I was healthy going into training, where the year prior I had to take a little bit of time off because I had an illness at the end of the season. So I felt like I didn't get a full summer build, where this season everything went smooth. I was running high mileage, good workouts. So I felt pretty confident about my fitness. But even going into the season, I think the goal was mainly just to kind of be a back end All-American, so top 40 maybe. And I didn't really know what I was capable of in cross country yet. So you can probably see my results. Like first race of the season, I ran a little bit more conservatively, had a pretty good race. I think I was like 16th in a very good nutty comb race, but obviously not on par with my races later in the season. And yeah, with that being said, I think I kind of just had one good race in the middle of the season there where I won and I got more confidence, started to feel better over 8K, and kind of realized that maybe I could do something pretty special going into ACC.
That's awesome. Unfortunate about your illness at the end of last year, and I saw that. So sorry about that. But then the consistency and the mileage, what'd your summer training look like coming into the cross-country season?
Summer training was kind of transitioning from track into cross country. You take a little bit of time off, but for me, I felt pretty good coming off the tracks. I think it was like a week of a little bit of running here and there, just kind of do what I wanted to do, and then kind of started to build back into training. So I don't remember the exact mileage at the start, but I don't jump into it right away. So maybe if the goal was to get to 80 to 85, kind of start off the first couple weeks like 60 to 70, and kind of to build up there with it, build up to a point where a few weeks into training, I'm hitting those like 80-mile weeks, and I'm starting to run tempo runs, fartleks, some threshold works. I think the emphasis over the summer is the volume and getting in a good amount of miles, but you kind of have to make sure that the miles are quality as well.
That's right. Do you prefer the easy long runs, or is there a specific workout that you enjoy, like a fartlek or a tempo? I always loved when I ran 1,000-meter repeats. For some reason, it was an odd distance. It wasn't running an 800 and it wasn't running a 400 and it wasn't too long. It felt just different.
First, I'll say I really do enjoy doing workouts and like harder efforts over easier runs, especially when you're doing like a lot of easy running. For me, at least, it gets to the point where like I'm like itching to run faster. Like it's always enjoyable to run, but I think sometimes when I'm like haven't run fast in a while, I kind of want to just like push it and just see where I'm at. So I definitely enjoy the harder efforts. And in terms of specific workouts, I think over the summer especially, I really like just like a long like tempo, like a 7 or 8 mile tempo, because I think I always saw myself as more of a speed guy. So especially in the summer when I'm like trying to get really strong, I always saw those tempos as kind of like almost a little bit of a test, where maybe if I'm able to run 8 miles and whatever, 5:05 pace, and I'm able to say, wow, like I wasn't able to do that last year. So I think it's always a good test for me and just a really good way to get strong and feel like I'm strong. So both physically and mentally feel confident.
Yeah, and I can see what you're saying because, now that I think about it, I've run a little bit more lately again, but a negative split run to me of 5 or 6 miles, it's like you start out and you're running some, and then each mile you pick it up in negative splits. And there is something about that that's a sweet spot of feeling confident and feeling strong. And that's what leads into the ACC Championship. So walk us through that race, because I watched it, but I'd love to hear you maybe explain in some detail about going into the race, the day or two leading up to it, and then the race itself.
I think my mindset going in the day or two leading up was I felt really good and I knew I could get like top 5, maybe even top 3, but I don't think it was on my mind that I was going to go out and win, to be honest. Like I thought every race I like to put myself in the mix and give myself a chance to win, but I'd be lying if I said I was going into that like thinking I'm going to go out and win. So I think that was kind of my mindset. I just wanted to get out hard, like put myself in the top 5 and have eyes on the leaders. And then I think as the race played out, I got out well. I was where I wanted to be. And I was just kind of keeping an eye on the UNC guys because obviously
There
Ethan
was
and
two of
Parker.
them, right?
Yeah, Ethan Strand, Parker Wolf, they're both phenomenal runners. Parker was third at the Olympic trials in the 5K. Ethan Strand was a finalist in the 1500 at the Olympic trials. So I knew they were going to work together. They were going to try to control the race. So keeping eyes on them. And I think 4K into the race, they started to pull away a little bit. Like the two of them started to go. And I'll be honest, I wasn't feeling great in that moment. Like there's definitely been races where I felt better, but I think in my mind, it was just kind of, this is going to be hard, but I need to just put myself in the mix, hold on to them, and just try to stick with them for as long as possible. And even if I fall off a little bit or maybe die a little bit at the end, hopefully I can just hold on enough to outlast as many people as possible. And eventually, as the race progressed, I kind of realized that maybe I was feeling even better than I thought I was, and I was able to maybe outlast them. So I think it was more of an even me putting myself in the position and thinking I'm going to go win this. It was just, I have to embrace the fact that I'm hurting right now and put myself in the thick of it and try to go after it.
Yeah, that's awesome, because when I was watching, like I said, there was a hill, I remember watching the highlights and stuff where you kind of came on the inside and you started to make a move up the hill. One of them fell off, the other one was kind of hanging, and then you kept going. And I think, like you were saying, you put yourself in the mix and then you never know how you're going to feel. And was there a spot in the race that you felt like, gosh, I'm going to be an ACC champion? Was there a point that you felt that, or was it not till the finish line?
I don't think there was ever a point where I thought I was going to be ACC champion. I will say there was one point with probably a little over a mile to go where I kind of charged up a hill a little bit and I could feel myself put a step or two on Parker Wolf, who was with me. And at that point, it was kind of like, if I have the step or two, like, I can't let it go. I got to just, I got to take
the
it.
hill that I was talking about, like that, I saw
I
there
think
was
it
a little
was.
move.
It was not the mean hill, but like a little incline where I made a little bit of a move and I decided to press. And I think even going up that last big hill into the finish, like you said, I don't think there was ever really a moment where I was like, I had a chance to take it in and enjoy it while I was in the race, because I was just so scared that someone was going to come up and catch me. So I think the whole last 800 meters or so was just running as hard as I can and trying to get to the line. And I don't think I ever felt as tired after a race as I did after ACC. So I felt confident that I'd put it all out there.
That's all you can ask for, right? And congratulations on that. That's just incredible and phenomenal. So then you fast forward a little bit and now you're at the NCAA Championship. So I'm sure the excitement of you're an ACC champion, but now you're looking at the NCAA Championship. So walk us through what happened at the ACCs. You want to celebrate, but now you're looking at NCAAs. So what did it look like between those two?
I think it was an interesting dynamic because obviously, like I said, my goal all year had been to be an All-American, but I went from thinking, man, like I'd be thrilled with being top 40, top 30, to now thinking, well, I'm in the mix where I can be top 10, top 15s. It's at first, honestly, it's a little bit daunting because my first two 10K experiences at nationals weren't very good. I was like 163rd and then like 212th or something. First two ones didn't go that well, and I knew that wasn't a reflection of my fitness and my abilities over cross country, but I think still in the back of my mind, there's still this mindset of I got to go out and prove that that's not who I am. So, there's the pressure to change the narrative there. There's the pressure of I just made this huge jump and I got to back it up. So I think those were the two main things weighing on me going into the nationals. But I also knew if I just did what I've been doing all year, put myself in the mix and just tried to run with those top guys, that I knew I was fit enough and I'd be able to do it. So I just had to try to silence the doubts and go out there.
That's great. So when you're in the race, actually, like right before the race, what are you feeling? You warm up? Are you feeling good putting your toe on the line going into the NCAA Championship? What's going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, I think it's always tough because the warm up can be a little bit of a false flag about how you're feeling, because I've had races where I felt terrible on the warm up and then got into the race and felt good, or even vice versa, races where I felt good on the warm up and maybe don't feel good in the race. So I think you always have to try to take the warm up with a grain of salt and just get yourself to the line. And in doing that, obviously there's a lot of nerves when you're on that line and you're getting ready to go. And for me, at least, I'm always just preparing myself for the first mile of the race, because a lot of the times that's the hardest mile, because even if it doesn't feel the hardest, you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to hold this for 6 miles? So I think it's honestly, you just have to know that you're going to settle in the middle of the race and still get out really hard. So that's what I'm thinking to myself at that point. And then when the gun goes off and whatever, a mile into the race, I think at that point I was in a good spot and I knew I just had to settle there and just turn my mind off for the first few miles and let everyone else do the work.
I like your point about the warm up because sometimes I do like a run the day before a race and it would just be a 2 or 3 mile run. I'll never forget the Boilermaker up in New York. And the day before I had like the worst 2 mile run I've ever had in my life. And I was like, I came all the way up here. I feel so fit and I felt dead. And then I had my PR. So you're right. You can't put it all in there, how you're feeling in a warm up or the day before into the race.
Yeah, I think that's a common theme for a lot of people because even in our team, we kind of have a joke where when you're running the pre-meet and you're doing your run the day before, like anytime someone's like, oh man, like I feel terrible, like this is like there's no way I'm going to run well tomorrow. Everyone else is like, what are you talking about? Like if you feel terrible, you're going to have the race of your life tomorrow. So I think that's kind of a common theme for runners.
You were saying you kind of put yourself not in a sleep mode, but like in a zone for a couple miles. You know, you finished 13th, which is All-American. It's much above your goal of finishing in the top 40. How are you feeling in like the last mile or two of the NCAA championships?
I had to make the decision of whether to make a move or not pretty early in NCAAs because there was a pack that broke away at 4.5, like 5K. So at that point, I had to make the decision of, do I want to lead the second group or do I want to go with that lead pack? I kind of hovered in between for a little bit, but I had a couple guys who worked up to me and then I worked up with them to the lead pack. So that worked out. And then at that point, it was just kind of like hanging on. Once again, sitting in the back of that pack, letting everyone else do the work. The race got pretty tough, like 8K in. For me, though, I knew I was where I wanted to be, and I had a really good race going on. So it was kind of just about putting the finishing touches on and not letting myself fall off too much and try to just pick off as many guys as I can in the last mile.
When you look at a race like that, you like the Peloton, like at the Tour de France, so many people come in close. You're all not the same, but you're so close. So when you watch them coming down the last 200 yards, I mean, you could be 10th or 15th, and then like you said, then the next group comes in. There has to be some exhilarating feeling of when your goal was to be top 40 and now you're 13th. What are you feeling there?
I was super excited, and more than anything, I was really happy because I backed up the ACC performance and the results earlier in the season. Like I said earlier, I had a couple bad nationals races, so I really wanted to put that behind me and just prove that I'm a top guy in the country. So I think for me to go out and really just continue my season and put together a really good race and feel really strong throughout, I was super excited, super relieved, and really just kind of proud of myself for the effort.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, what a cross-country season. So, last season, unfortunately, you had a little bit of an illness in track and field, but then you had a great summer, which led to an incredible cross-country season. You have indoor coming up, and I know what it's like from doing it myself. I wasn't as competitive as you in cross-country, but I was more of a track runner. But it's a long year in college of cross-country, then indoor track, and then outdoor track. What race do you have next coming up, and what's your focus for indoor track?
Yeah, it's definitely a long year, and I think it's important to try to break it up into blocks. But continuing the cross-country block, I have a race actually on Saturday at Boston University. I'm running the 3,000 meters. So that'll be my last race of like the cross-country season, even though it's indoor track. And then I'll take a little bit of a break and ramp up sometime in January. I'm not sure my exact schedule yet, but yeah.
Okay, so going into indoor, like there's something you might focus on, like an 800 or 1,500 or 3,000 will be kind of a mixture of all of them.
It'll definitely be a mixture of all of them. And I think last year, the main focus was the mile and the 1,500. So everything I did was kind of centered around that, whether I was going up or down in distance, where this year I'm not sure what the focus is going to be yet. So I think that's kind of exciting because I'll be able to go out and run a 3K or a 5K or a mile or an 800 and kind of just see where I'm at and kind of just have fun with it. And eventually, as we get into the postseason, whatever's been working well, kind of focus on one of those, either the 3K or the mile. But, I think I'm pretty excited because I feel stronger than ever. So I think I'm going to fare pretty well over the longer distances and hopefully throw down some fast times.
That's a great situation to be in. I look at it as like a tough situation, but it's an exciting one because it's like you're so good at so many events. And, a lot of people focus on the 800, focus on the mile. I look on my paper in front of me, like, put you in a 600 and you'd probably do phenomenal. Put you on the 25 laps for the 10K in the indoor and you do phenomenal. So it's like you could do 3 laps or you could do 25 and it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to see how I'd fare in a 600. That's painful. Even an 800 is a little short for me. I definitely like the mile and stuff, but yeah, it's definitely, I enjoy being able to step up and down and do different things. And I think it keeps it exciting.
Well, thank you so much. Can't wait to watch you in indoor track this year and hopefully have you back on maybe at the end of the year after outdoor track. But thank you so much for coming on to My Good Content. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Byron. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.